there's this whole art for art's sake thing. For me, it's not just aesthetics. It can be beautiful, but it should be meaningful. And not just meaningful, it has to be impactful. The people should be able to see themselves in it and get something from whatever it is that you're creating.
How did you go from photography to using VR to eventually like developing a game for children? How does one achieve that level of breadth?
I think I've never really...
I'm here with Omoregie Osakpolor, documentary photographer, filmmaker, extended reality creator, and now children's book author and game developer based in Lagos, Nigeria. Osas, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
As you can tell from the intro, you are a man who wears many hats and has captured multiple different types of projects, both film-based and virtual reality-based. I'd like to ask you, as an introductory form, how do you identify as an artist? Do you identify as a photographer or as a video? Like, how would you describe yourself if one were to ask you to describe Omoregie Osakpolor today?
I think just one word, a storyteller. I mean, no matter the form or medium, that's basically what I'm doing with all of them, storytelling. So yeah, I think the best way to describe myself is just, I'm a storyteller.
Amazing. And I know you've told many different types of stories, right? Starting from the journey of an African monarch all the way to what you're building right now. How do you decide what your next project will be? And like, basically, what defines the next iteration of Osakpolor Omoregie?
For me, I don't think I have like a particular pattern or a particular like a method of some sorts. Like I'll say, I did this, this is gonna be next and all that. It all depends on what I am feeling in that particular moment and what I'm going through in terms of my life and what I'm feeling and how my society is at that particular point in time. So that's actually what determines like the kind of story I want to tell. But if there is anything, I don't think it's actually like intentionally structured, but I've sort of noticed it too that sometimes when I start on, because my work is majorly broadly divided into like two parts, which there's the social justice part, and there is, so I mean social justice like social works, and there is of course the cultural works. For me, most of the social works are usually heavy, so I tend to, when I'm done with one particular work, I tend to want to move to like a cultural project and all that. So it's not really. I don't think I didn't sit down to say this is how I've been creating. I think that's just been a pattern of some sort that I too have noticed. I mean, I've just like noticed it and all that. So yeah, that's basically how I work. When I have a project idea, I just put it down and just leave it there and just keep feeding the idea until the idea just say, I think it's time that I want to like come out. I just obey, I just follow whatever it is that he wants. So that's basically how I just got my career.
Interesting. So you say that you are a storyteller who follows the leading of his heart. What did you dream of becoming as a child? Did you dream of being a storyteller, or did you just find yourself becoming one as you became an adult?
As a child, I dreamed of becoming many things. I think the dreams were always changing. One time, there was a time I wanted to be a soldier. There was a time I wanted to be an engineer. There was a time I wanted to be, there was a time I wanted to be all sort of things, And as I kept growing, I kept realizing, okay, this is like the interest to keep dying, But then there was a time I wanted to be a writer, So if there is anything at all, I would think it was that time I wanted to be a writer. I mean, if I'm actually close to that, was that the last dream? And then, that was sort of the last dream I had, to become like a writer, writing about politics and all of those things and all that. So I think if there's anything that it's close to that last dream that I had, becoming a writer. Yeah. So that's actually what I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone who does something for society and all of that, like a fighter, all those things. I don't know if I'm a fighter now, but I don't know.
Interesting.
That's sort of what I wanted to be. Yeah.
You wanted to be a fighter and a writer.
I mean, like an activist of some sorts,
Which you are right now, right? You are a storyteller who tells stories through. Okay, just go on.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to tag myself as an activist. I think it's just, I would rather just leave it as But if that's the case, every Nigerian is an activist because we are all basically talking about our bad societies and the government
That
and all
makes
of those
sense.
things and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm just observing my society and saying or echoing what everyone is saying, or
Mm-hmm.
basically saying something that we are all not seeing in a different way, just
Mm-hmm.
showing it to us in a different light,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's basically what I am. I'm just like, I'm a storyteller, and
Mm.
for me, rather put an artist that basically just observing the site and documenting it for us to see. That's basically what I would rather what I call myself. And yeah,
Okay.
because I don't think I want to wear the tag of an activist.
I mean, that's very fair. So yeah, a storyteller who tells stories in the society, regardless of the form that they come. How do you decide? I know I already asked this question earlier, but I'm curious, like, how did you go from photography to using VR to eventually writing about, to eventually like developing a game for children? How does one become that, achieve that level of breadth of expansiveness in storytelling?
Um, for me, I think I've never really wanted to, like, even when I started photography, I knew I never really wanted to box myself. You
Mm.
know, I think it starts from you not for you being open-minded in the sense that you are open to trying new things, new
Mm-hmm.
tools, and new mediums, and not just saying this is what I am, and that's basically that becomes you. Because when you do
Mm-hmm.
that, you automatically shut experimenting and all that. So for
Mm.
me, I've never wanted to. I never wanted to box myself. I just wanted to tell stories, and
Yeah.
because the goal of every storyteller, no matter the medium you're using, is to find a way to get your viewers or your audience to connect to your story. And
Mm-hmm.
if your stories actually have like some characters or subject matter, you find the best possible way to just to connect them. And let's look at film, for instance. When a film director or a cinematographer is composing a frame, they do it in a way that they make they want to direct the viewer to a particular thing they want the viewer to see. They
Mm.
want to get connected to it and all that. So that's what you do. So whether you are sculpting or you are painting and all of those things, there's something you want the viewers to basically see.
Mm.
Yes, perhaps they might have the interpretation of it later on, but there's something you find a way to direct them towards seeing that thing. So for
Mhm.
me, the goal is to get my audience immersed in my work as possible as I can.
Mhm.
And any tool that help me do that is what I
Mm.
accept.
I see.
The goal is immersion and connection. That's what I want to achieve, and meet them where they are with the tool that they can actually access. And for me, some stories, that's one. Another reason is some stories I feel are better said using are better told using a particular tool.
Mm.
Some stories will do well as photography, like just being photographs, but some stories will do well if they were in motion, in film, and I feel now some stories also will do well if they were in virtual reality,
Mm.
even though it's been around, but it's still a new tool that is still
Mhm.
evolving, and people have not fully accepted it yet, but it's getting acceptance gradually, But some stories are better told using VR. I've experienced some stories in VR. I've experienced all stories in different forms, and I know what they do to me, the level of like how I get to connect with them. And it's like that too, When I had my exhibition, my last solo show in Benin, I saw people that have never used virtual reality before, that have never actually used the VR headset. I saw them experience VR for the first time. I
Mhm.
knew the level of like from their reaction and what they said in post viewing interviews and all that. You could tell how they were immersed, how they over time actually at some point lost a sense of presence. The
Mm.
illusion that VR gives you, the illusion of presence. I saw how that played out. Just seeing them. So that's what you want to get as a storyteller. Bring your audience close to the story as much as possible so they connect with it and you don't lose them. So for me, these are like what actually like influenced my decisions to using tools. And that's actually what has influenced me to like to experiment and get my audience close to the stories. And of course, if the story demands would actually influence the kind of tool I want to use.
Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. And I'm thinking of this in the light of your most recent project. How did you decide that a game was the best way to tell that story to the world? Like, how did that come about?
First, it was a photography project that I documented the coronation of Oba of Benin in 2016, October 2016, and the work went viral on the internet. And 2 years after the coronation, I had a traveling exhibition that started in Lagos, moved to Abuja, and then finally to Benin. And as at that time, that was like it was a major, I think I would say the first photography exhibition in that part of the country after Tamfiofori showed his coronation work in 2004 inside the Palace of the Oba of Benin, and then the Oba Palace back in 2004. So a few years after that, I showed my own coronation images of Oba Ewari II, 2018. I saw how people related. I saw how people responded to the work. And so during the course of the exhibition, I saw how children would come into the space, and I could tell, yeah, the images are colorful, but I could tell somehow that they couldn't really get some of those things, you know? They couldn't really get some of those things. I feel like it was the medium I presented the work, exhibitions, the photographs hung on the wall, just on the frame, people move around and all that. So yeah, so I felt that it was after that exhibition, seeing the kind of challenge that some of them had, I felt I needed to get in touch, with them, not recreate the work, but expand the medium of the work in a way that these children would actually understand. So that was actually influenced me. After the exhibition, I decided to write a book, a children book, like a children history book based on the coronation of the Oba of Benin. When I finished writing the book in 2018, another was it a problem per se? Yeah, another problem that came up. I figured that it was historic, it was history, but then I kept asking myself if that could actually cut it, would that actually get to them well? A few years later, like, no, I think I would rather put it in fictional. Blending facts with fiction. Let me make it a fictional book, all right, with the child character that can actually take the children through the journey of the coronation of the Oba of Benin in words they will understand and in visuals that they will understand, which is, of course, illustrations. And it was during this period that I came in contact with XR storytelling, which is VR and AR. And I felt like if I really want them to experience what I saw, or a bit of what I experienced during the coronation, it would be best for me to use, for it to not just be some illustrations on paper, not just be text and colorful illustration. What if I'm able to bring some of these characters, some of these scenes, to life in their own space using the book? I'm like, okay, so that was where the idea of augmented reality came up, AR. I'm like, okay, I can actually make the book, I can actually create a simulation of this coronation experience, for these children, and then using the tool they already have, their smartphones, their iPads and tablets and all that. So they just basically have a bit of the experience, the sound, the songs, the drums, and all of those just right there in their room without actually, and of course have opportunity to basically get close to the Oba, see the coral beads, see the details of the coral beads, the crown, the shoes, and see the ukuse, see the maraca, see the, all those colorful things and all that. So that was actually what made me transform the book into this, or expand the project into the formats, these mediums that children will understand. And as for the game, which is also based on the book, they can actually have fun, you can read the book, bring the characters to life using your phone, and then you can also play the game. Just have a tiny bit of experience seeing Benin, you now running through the city, and attempt to get to the coronation. It's just a simple game, just for them to it's a family, a game that can actually bond. The family can actually bond over, bond with, So now that's actually what just wanted me to just create the book, expand it to children so they actually understand what the coronation of the Oba is like.
Interesting. So it sounds like you didn't just create art, you were thinking of how the art would impact the future generation. Is that a theme that runs through your art, or is this something that you're just embarking upon in the later part of your career? I know you've had a decade-long career, so maybe you're like, oh, well, I've been here for 10 years. It's time to start influencing the next generation. Like, how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, for me, I've never really created work because I wanted to just create them. I knew I wasn't just going to start creating art for the sake of it. You know, imagine as a teenage boy, I already knew I wanted to create art. You know, I already knew I wasn't going to just create art for the sake of beauty and all of those things. It was going to be beautiful, but then it has to be meaningful.
I see.
So for me, I don't create art for just sake of art because I don't believe there's this whole art for art's sake thing. For me, it's not
Yeah,
just aesthetics. It can be beautiful, but it should be meaningful.
I see.
And that meaning is basically and not just meaningful, it has to be impactful. The people should be able to like see themselves in it and get something from whatever it is that you're actually creating. So that's how I create my work. It's not just for some beauty and all that. So in the case of now that I'm basically trying to create children work, yeah, it's because I wanted them to be able to like digest something from their culture. My work is actually not just for the sake of beauty for the sake of beauty, or art for the sake of art. It has to be meaningful, it has to be impactful. And yeah, that's actually why I create. And of course, I can't take away beauty because beauty is the vehicle that drives that meaning, which is
Interesting.
basically what it is, art, yeah.
So you're an artist who creates art, but you don't think that art can be created for the sake of beauty. You think art should always have a reason. It should always
Yeah,
have a message to drive.
it should always have a message to drive, and I think it's a bit of propaganda for people who champion the idea the art for the sake of art idea. It's actually like some sort of propaganda. Like you're basically trying to take our attention away from issues that we're basically facing. A Nigerian cannot actually you cannot be an artist, and you can't be an artist in Nigeria or a storyteller in Nigeria, and all you're based on is basically you just create art for the sake of you want to just create it for the sake of it. An American could do that. Somebody from the
Yeah,
first world could actually do all of
yeah.
these things because
Okay.
though they have their own realities and issues they're actually grappling with, all right?
Yeah.
But we have our own arts here that are actually a bit unique to us that they actually don't really understand. Our experiences are different,
Yeah.
So for us, maybe they've got to a point where they no longer grapple with some basic things, but we are still at that point where we're still grappling with some, even the simplest of things, access to clean water, good light, good roads, basic governance, basic things that we're
Yeah.
still basically struggling with here. So why should I be creating some artworks that's basically just appealing? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. So it's why no, I do not buy it. I think it's a sort of propaganda. You trying to take our attention away from the things that people should actually be focused on. It's why I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, okay. I guess I get it. We have a good sense of the why, and I think I have a good sense of it. Although I'm sure there's still more nuance than you've mentioned. But what I don't have a good grasp of yet is the how. How does one? How did you do it? Like, if you were to advise a young artist who was just graduating from school and it's like, oh, I actually want to be a documentary photographer like you. I want to exhibit in countries in
Yeah.
Europe. I want to do what you've done. Like, what did you do? How would you share it with them? And like, how would you advise them?
I'll say first of all, know yourself, know
Mm,
what you want. I mean, that's like the beginning of everything. Who am I? What do I want to see?
mm,
Who am I? From knowing who you are, you need to know your society, where you come from, this church of people,
mm,
and where's the world at this moment.
mm.
What are the boiling issues? This right now, I'm not talking about photography. I'm just talking about you first of all, because it is you that will become. You're basically going to transfer whatever you believe and whatever you believe in into this the photographs or the film you're going to make and all that. So the first thing first is you knowing who you are and your society and all of those things.
Mm,
Once you know that, and you have to say, okay, what do I want to see?
mm,
Once you know what you want to see, every other thing becomes technical. Once
mm,
you know what you want to see, get trained. If it's
mm,
photography you want to learn it well, and join communities.
mm.
Belong to communities. I mean, build relations. I didn't say network. I mean, build relations. So you actually have genuine relationship within the space. Because sometimes that you basically grow or not, most times, not sometimes, most times that you would grow or not, that you get to those international platforms, even the local platforms, is most times dependent on the community you belong to. You can't work in isolation. So that's the first thing. Know yourself, get technical training, and know what you want to say. Then build relationships. Join communities, be engaged, and all that. So when you do that, when you done that, open calls. It is actually through when you belong to a community, they can even have opportunities to get open calls, get opportunities that are actually out there for you. That's a filmmaker, a photographer, and all that. When you do not actually belong to communities, it's difficult for you to find out these things on your own. Now, the communities could be both online and physical. Yes, I recommend you actually join physical communities, not just online communities. Yeah, so yes, join them online, but once in a while, go out of your way to basically meet people for real. So that's how you basically are going to actually get that kind of growth that you actually need. Sometimes people won't give you some certain opportunities because they actually don't see you, they don't know you. And I think I'm leaving out one thing. In this time and age, you need to put yourself out there virtually, social media and all of those things and all that. So people will gravitate towards you when they see what you're doing and they want to connect with you too. So that's, I think, just the steps that you need to take.
Right.
But start with knowing who you are first, so you're not just everywhere.
I see. So would you say that for you as a person, when you graduated from school, the steps you took was first, obviously you already obviously knew what you wanted to say. And then the second step you took was finding a community like you just described, and then doing open calls. Is that how it worked for you as well?
Actually, yes, that's the process. Now, for me, when I left school, I started learning photography during NYC. That's for those who don't understand, for non-Nigerians, the National Youth Service Corps, the 1 year mandatory service that you must do after university as a Nigerian.
Yeah.
So I learned photography while I was doing that 1 year mandatory service. And when I left, and during that 1 year mandatory service, I knew I wanted to do documentary. I knew I didn't want to be a fashion photographer. I knew I didn't want to be a wedding photographer and all of this and all that. Even though I regret it now too. I mean, not regrets like in the sense of regret. I should have actually learned all genres of photography before just picking a niche and like this is the genre I want to do and nothing else. So in that period, I was I would just go online and Google best documentary photographers in Africa, best in Nigeria, and all that. I'll follow, and I'll go to their website, and I was just studying their works, and all that. So, and then over time, when there's an event happening, like a photography exhibition, I will go just to go meet photographers, just see what other people were doing at that time and all that. So after that, I decided to do my own work too. I've seen patterns. Okay, this is what you do. If you want to do the project, you start with, okay, you have a subject matter, you follow people for a period of time. You need to now create like, oh, this is a series. I didn't know what the series was. I learned what the series was by just seeing those works and seeing, like, being to those workshops and all of those things and all that. Like, okay, this is what the series do. So you don't just photograph in one photograph in isolation. That's not what makes you an artist. An artist works in bodies of work. That's how you work as an artist. So this is the body of work. Or in that particular body of work, you have images, and there will be something that is common that ties all of them together. Okay, I learned that there since I didn't go to an art school, so I literally learned on the street. So I learned that belonging to a community. And so after I did that, I'm like, okay, I can actually do my work and let me try out the things that I've actually been learning. And that's it. And I did that when I was working on those projects. I'll take it to a particular mentor and friends. Please let me look at this work. They all critique it, or I think this photograph should take this out of this. This doesn't actually follow the story. You can take this out, you can add this in, or I think you need to go back and shoot more. It to be better. All of those critics and all that. But one work, all right, before I ever bring out one particular work, it would always, it might have gone through like a series of workshopping, like people like always looking at it and all that, critiquing and all that. That's what community do, So it's what I did. So now when when there's an open call, an opportunity for that kind of work to show, they were, oh, this person has this body of work that will fit into this exhibition. Let's get in touch. Yeah. Or there's this call, I think your work fits into it. So that's how started, I just started growing. I started growing and all that. Somebody say, oh, there's this particular work, or there's this computer assignment for this particular organization. You have the style they need. I think you can go. I would recommend you to shoot it. So if you don't belong to the community, you can't get these opportunities. So people started knowing your work. People started knowing my work. Started seeing and all that. Okay, now they can now trust you because they've seen you in spaces that they know only someone that is good can be in. So that's literally how I grew. People gave me opportunities to grow, and for me, I'm trying to pass the baton just like that. So that's how you grow. You can't really grow in isolation. I mean, never, unless you are a rich kid and you're so rich that your parents can actually buy everything for you and all that. So even as at that, there's still a level of when you can't command the respect from your space, there's still a level to it. You can't really still go to some settings, enter some certain spaces and all that. So that's it. You need to know yourself, do the work, belong to a community, and because that's actually like your your school at some certain point.
I see. That's interesting. So apart from learning how to do fashion and wedding photography, is there any other thing you would do differently if you could go back to 10 years ago when you started your career?
I think I would be so business minded at the very beginning. I mean, from the very, very beginning, I think at the beginning, I wasn't really business minded. It was all about the arts, the passion, the passion, the arts, the project, the work, and all that. It was just creative, not necessarily thinking about distribution, thinking, just creating the work without thinking about distribution, without thinking about how to get people to see the work. Your work is as good as the distribution channel.
Okay.
You can have the best of works. You can have the most impactful now. You won't even know if your work will be impactful if you can't actually get it to the people.
Yeah.
And this is what at the beginning sometimes I wasn't taught. I did not know it. And most artists actually still have that problem. You are taught to be passionate, do this, do that, all right? But they're not really taught about the business aspect of things. Learning how to distribute your work. What I mean business right now, not necessarily money. I mean, money is there, but that's something that other things that will actually bring about, that can actually bring about, that'll bring about money. Creating the right structure for your work to get out from production, like from shooting to distribution, having a structure and a clear path how you want to get it and where you want the work to go is something that we were not taught. Are you creating your work, for instance, to be shown in museums or gallery? Are you creating your work to have a coffee table book at the end of it? How do you want to? These are things I didn't know. So if I were to go back 10 years from now, I would have actually make sure I learned this. I know time will teach some of these things, but then if you ask the right question at the very beginning, you will get answers. If you ask the right question at the very beginning, you will get answers. You will get answers. So at that point, I would have actually been thinking about structure. How do I get my works? Where should my work show? And how do I get, of course, compensation, monetary compensation for these things, for this work, So you don't just become like a sad, broke artist at the end of it, When you become sad and broke, you become a danger to society you want to actually make better. So, so there's this, you have to constantly think about, So for me, if I had the opportunity, I would have actually learned the business aspect of things as I was learning the technical aspect of things. I would have actually learned the business aspect of things. I would have. And I wouldn't have actually just focused on a particular genre at that beginning, I would have learned everything, all right, learned them, know them so well, and then decide to say, okay, you know what, I don't think I want to do this. But when called upon, I can actually do this too. Do you get, and if possible, do everything. Yes, just do everything. The photographers that do everything now, and they are like, they're better for it,
Interesting.
because you need money. You need money to sustain your project.
Okay.
You don't just want to depend on some grants, some benevolent spirit or persons or organizations somewhere to feed you. If you don't, so when you can shoot a wedding, you can shoot art, you can shoot all of these things. You have different sources of income, so that way you can actually still fund your documentary projects. You can fund them and you can say the things you want to say and not just what some grant makers want you to say, which is actually like a problem with African creators at the moment. So for me, these are things I would have loved to change. Ask the right questions in terms of business at the very beginning. Let's put structure in place, from creation to distribution of work, and learn all genres of photography and not just niche down early. It was too early. I think I niched too early. These are things, if I had the opportunity to go back, these are the 3 things I would have actually changed.
Interesting. And also thinking of you as an artist who has evolved in many ways, what is the next version of you? What is next for you? What projects are you working on, both personally and commercially, if they are different?
Oh yeah. I'm still an artist. I'm still a storyteller, even though I'm learning to become a businessman.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So at the moment, I'm building Toyo Stories. So Toyo Stories is a platform that collects, documents, preserves, and share African folktales in the form of AR games, books, digital interactive books, and video games, and of course animations. So our focus is basically on children, collecting this actually telling the African stories, for children age 5 upwards. At the moment, we created, of course, the AR book, The King's Journey, and the video game, which will be launching 3 months from now. 3-4 months from now, maybe be on the safe side. 4 months from now. And so that's, and I've been on that for quite a couple of, I'll say for the last 2 years. And we're just basically going to be launching that on for Toyo Stories. Personally, I'm currently researching a new documentary photography project that I'm working on the Abiku, like the Yorubas call them, Igbahwan, call them in Edo, and Ogbanje, like the Igbos call them. But I'm looking at exorcists, the people who basically sever the ties this spirit children have between this world, this physical world, and the spiritual world, which are people we believe they come from. So it's a photography project, and I'll be documenting these people in the Niger Delta. Edo, we're just using 2 places from that Delta, Edo and Delta to be precise. And I've started, but I'm still researching. I've not really gone into the field. I'm going to the field a month or so from now. And so that's like a new project I'm actually working on. And hopefully the next 1 year or so, I should have my first few images from that series.
Interesting. I think, it sounds very interesting. I think both of your projects are things that I would like, me personally, even though I know that a typical Nigerian wouldn't invest in these kinds of photography, but me personally, I actually would be willing to invest because I think that they are stories worth telling. And I agree with you that a lot of these stories are not being propagated in the way that they should. So, it sounds really interesting.
I found my first investor.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so before we end the podcast, is there anything else you'd like to say to listeners or creatives out there who are looking up to you as someone who's achieved something they would like to achieve?
This particular quote from this guy, I've forgotten his name, but that thing that could actually stuck with me. I heard it for the first time during the NYC, like in our camp in 2014, November 2014. Yeah, that's when I heard the quote for the first time. I can't remember it fully, but let me try if I can still remember the paraphrasing. It said, I think something around your problem is not what you don't have, is what you have but don't know how to use. That's actually like your limiting problem. I mean, your thing that's actually limiting you. It's not necessarily what you don't have or what you think you don't have. It's actually what you have, but haven't figured out how to actually use. I think if you actually, that could be anything. Could be basically the free things you have access to, that you can actually start with right now. If you want to photograph, let's say you want to do documentary. Documentary doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to war, like you see. Yes, it seems like, oh, those photographers have documented crisis and all that are some of the best because that's what the war tend to be the best. But it's not like that. See, documentary could be about anything and everything. It just depends on how you approach it. It's your approach that actually makes the difference. It could be about your father. It could be about your mother. It could be about how people dress. It could be about you could just decide to say, I want to stand on this spot every day and see the people that pass through it, how people navigate their spaces, the kind of characters that basically, you'll be surprised if you sit on the spot and keep photographing on one spot every day in your city. You see the kind of characters you're going to find, and do that for 1 year and see how you'll be shocked what you're actually going to have. So yeah, just do, and don't wait for permission from anybody or anything.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is very inspiring. Even to me, who is not a young creative, I feel inspired by that. So thank you. Thank you for your time. This has been a lovely conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.